What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Game number 3 here between DarKFoRcE and HuK. This time we're on Crevasse, and yes, we're tied up 1-1 in this best-of-3 series between these two players. Here on Crevasse, spawning in the upper right-hand position is HuK as our red Protoss player, and in the upper left we do have DarKFoRcE as the blue Zerg player. So yes, Protoss versus Zerg, game number 3, HuK versus DarKFoRcE. Let's get this going here on Crevasse. So exciting. Been some pretty interesting series so far. Now, one thing I will say is the last two games have been just super crazy macro heavy. Obviously, both these players loving this macro focus, just kind of working their way into the late game. Now, we did see early pushes both games. The first game, DarKFoRcE moved out with his initial early push. It was Roach and Baneling dropping. That was kind of his initial strong push. He did a bit of damage with that. Last game, we saw HuK move out with the early aggression. He went with that 7-gate. After that Forge Fast expand. Unfortunately, though, for HuK last game, didn't do much damage. He actually came out behind during that initial engagement. However, in subsequent engagements with some nice positioning and force field and proper use of Blink Stalkers, HuK was able to claw his way back in and put himself in a dominant position above DarKFoRcE and eventually, you know, win the game. So yes, 1-1, here we go. Right now, HuK will be scouting out DarKFoRcE. We'll be very interested to see if DarKFoRcE tries to go for the super fast expansion, given the fact that, you know, being here in Crevasse, you do have that in-base expo. But actually, no, DarKFoRcE will be dropping Extractor first, and then that spawning pool will be coming as soon as he gets those two. And look at that. That is what you need to do. Something else that's really big, too. When it comes to that early game building and you're looking at your timings and trying to get things down as soon as possible, you move out before you get to that resource point. So if you're going hatch 15, you don't want to wait till you have 300 resources, move to the expansion, and then drop your hatchery, and you'll be at like 400 resources by the time you get there. You move out that worker before the point, and so the second you hit the resources, the second DarKFoRcE had the 200 minerals, he was able to drop that spawning pool right away, and that's precisely what you want to do. Now, DarKFoRcE trying to be a little bit of a nuisance and doing a good job of it, you know, delaying that forge from getting dropped down. You can see HuK had a little bit of floating resources right after he dropped that forge, and that was because that drone was dancing around and kind of, again, trying to prevent that and delay it. So HuK will be forge fast expanding, so very easy on this map, and in fact, you can see he went Nexus first. Now, a little concerned, you know, because DarKFoRcE doesn't have his expo at all yet, and again, given this map, I don't know. I mean, HuK will be in a strong position, at least early on, so we will have to see how HuK manages to, if he decides to take advantage of that, which hopefully he does. Because, again, he will be in a very, very solid position. Very interesting wall. This is, I guess, a little bit of a nuisance to try to wall off here. And I guess his pylon placement probably messed up where his gateway could have went. I'm assuming that it's just an odd position in there. I could be wrong, though. I haven't walled off Forge Fast Expand on this map as Protoss very, very often. So we get to right now moving out with his expansion. And first checking behind. He's actually looking for... Oh, no. Okay, there we go. Trying to deny the scouting probe. So he's looking for that probe with that Zergling and then dropping the expo. So there we go. And HuK will be moving on to look, hey, what else is going on? Is there another building? And this is actually going to possibly force him to move right back up. And yes, he will be scouting it out anyway. So although DarKFoRcE tried for the trickery, didn't really matter. HuK did manage to scout it out. So this is the point of the game where it's like, let's see what HuK decides to do, because look at the Nexus is up right now, and DarKFoRcE, this isn't even halfway finished. So gonna be very interested to see, you know, HuK's gonna get this a little bit saturated now, and then we'll have to of course keep a close eye on his transition. But he's looking to be in a good spot, at least for this initial early part of the game. Zergling Scout moving around, and he will be moving right on over, and will be walking right in that cannon. Should be just taking the one hit and then pulling on back, and he's nice and safe out of the range of that photon cannon. We actually have a second photon cannon coming on through. Once this gateway finishes, wholly expect a sentry to get produced, because it's only going to require one force field here, so it becomes kind of super OP. Now, obviously, you know, this is a map where these destructible rocks can get destroyed, although it does take a little bit of time. And here comes that sentry and Stargate play here from HuK. So HuK mixing it up a little bit, throwing in that Stargate, and let's see what he decides to open up with Void Rays and or Phoenixes. Or possibly just going with both, going with a little healthy mix. We have that third coming out over here for DarKFoRcE, transferring some workers over to that in-base expansion, and here comes that Warp Gate research again to coincide with that Stargate. Do I have another sentry attempting to come out? A little pylon action there, finishing and getting rid of that supply block that we did see HuK sit on. But yeah, Stargate play, loving it. Love it when players kind of mix up their typical game plan. You know, players do it, most players at least. Obviously, professional players try to mix it up, but even with the professional players, you see there's always, think of it like poker. Everyone's kind of got a tell, but people have a general play style, and they're really comfortable with certain styles of builds. And you come to expect that when you play these players over and over and over again, especially at the top level, always playing the same players. It really becomes important to mix things up so that you don't become predictable, because once you become predictable, it's very easy for your opponents to figure out what you're doing, hence the word predictable. But anyways, mixing it up, always a good idea. If you're ever in a tournament yourself and you're playing kind of a best of series or anything like that, if you have a favorite strategy, mixing it up in a later game in the series can really help throw your opponent off their game. If you've done the same thing for the first 2 or 3 games and then you throw something in the mix for the next game, can certainly catch them off guard. And so yes, open up with the Void Ray, and should actually be trying to target fire down the Queen, but not bothering. He just wants to try to get a few worker kills, and then once his shield dissipates, he should be pulling on back, and there we go. Did take a little bit of structural damage there, but not a big deal, because now that the Phoenix is in play, the Queen gets lifted up if he micros it. Jeez, some crow taking a couple shots and pulling back. I also got a few shots there on those Overlords. Proxy Pylon getting placed over here for HuK, because with this gateway play, we're going to be seeing actually a 5-gate push. So HuK going very, very strong will be 5-gate pushing, plus this Void Ray opening, just the Void Ray and the Phoenix, and then that's it. Ooh, very tricky. You see nothing else is coming in production from that Stargate. So he opened the Void Ray Phoenix. He is making his opponent think that the air harass is coming, and then he's cutting the air harass. He's stopping it right now, and he's going for that strong 5-gate push. So let's see if HuK manages to do some damage with this again. He's got these 5 gateways ready to start churning out units right now. He's got a bunch of sentries, whole lot of sentries, and this will be very beneficial, obviously, for those force fields. And then we'll be throwing some zealots into the mix. So here we go, big strong push right now. Big thing too is that we have DarKFoRcE at a supply block. He's got 5 Overlords to try to compensate for this coming out right now. Those Queens moving down. They're going to have a really hard time against those sentries and zealots. So trying to snipe down the Void Ray. Void Ray makes it out just in time, but oh, miss micro. There we go. HuK grabbing it just in time. Needs to just stay away from those Queens. Don't pull down. Oh no, getting sniped down from that one Queen right there. The Queen getting chased down, finally sniped, and I don't think it matters, because even though he lost that Void Ray, he will be taking out this expansion. We have a ton of speedlinks. Those getting rallied though, walking right by those zealots and getting taken out, losing almost all those Zerglings before he could actually rally those up here. DarKFoRcE got a ton of Zerglings coming out, working up that Hydra then as well. This is a strong push. I'm a little bit concerned for DarKFoRcE right now, and actually at the same time, HuK's expanding as well. Wow, very interesting. So HuK will be cutting this harass short just a little bit, putting those extra resources into this expansion, and getting a couple of pylons down here as well. We should be seeing another assimilator or two. Finally getting another warp in here. Those are just all zealots, in fact, with that past warp in. But he did quite a bit of damage, and taking out the expansion was huge. And even if he just sits out front and contains DarKFoRcE, DarKFoRcE is, he's in a tough spot, really. Not a lot he can do. Going to be very hard for him to push out against all of these sentries with those massive force fields that are going to get laid. And actually, HuK will just be walking right up into the main, and DarKFoRcE looks to be in a tough spot right now. He does have 12 Hydras, but are they going to be out in time? Once those Hydras get out, they do have massive DPS. We should be seeing those force field walls, and that will help against those Zerglings. And there we go. Hydra's trying to get us around, doing a lot of damage. You can see how quickly they managed to drop those Zealots once they get within range. But all of those Zerglings are gone right now. There are just a few Hydras left. Zealots trying to catch up to them. Couple sentries, Stalkers as well. They should be able to take him out. And there we go, some more Zealots streaming on in, trying to micro back with the Hydras. I don't think there are enough though. And there you go, DarKFoRcE calling the GG. HuK opened up this game Nexus first, and then went into the Forged Cannon frontal defense. DarKFoRcE's expansion was a little bit delayed because he did open up on one base, and he also had that delayed by trying to avoid the Probe Scout. HuK then followed up with some Void Ray and Phoenix harass. However, he only produced one Void Ray and one Phoenix. He made certain to show these to DarKFoRcE, and then he cut all production out of his Stargate, went into 5 gates, and then went for a 5-gate push. Being so sentry heavy, HuK was able to prevent any speedlings that came out from DarKFoRcE of being able to get us around on those sentries, and as such was able to quite easily take out this expansion. After taking out the expansion, HuK quite easily walked right up into the main, and although we had some Hydras out, which helped DarKFoRcE a bit, with some very nice force field placements, he was able to defend himself. Also that Guardian Shield cutting back on that Hydra damage quite a bit. HuK won the game quite handedly. Alright guys, so thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you have enjoyed this best of 3 series. Game number 3 was quite a bit shorter than the first 2, but entertaining nonetheless. As always guys, thank you so much for watching. I want to let you know as well, this will be all that's coming out for tonight. Since I was on that little mini vacation, we'll be coming out with all the strategy videos you expect and any other StarCraft as well as Diablo 3 content tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that. As always guys, if you like the content, please make sure to subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Keep watching and keep owning.